Just how strong is the Leviathan axe? Kratos has wielded some of the most powerful weapons in gaming history. But how does this frost-imbued axe, made to counteract the power of Mjolnir, stand up against other god-tier weapons like the Blades of Chaos or even the Blade of Olympus? To find out that and more, then my friends, stay a while and listen. The first place I want to stop is the axe's origins, because that's going to point us in the direction to get everything else we need to know to find out just how powerful this axe is. Made by Brock and Sindri, the two most legendary smiths in all of the Norse realms, not only made the axe, but they also made Mjolnir. And the axe was made specifically to counter or balance the destructive power of Mjolnir, which Thor used to decimate the entire race of the giants. There's a lot of debate on this part in the God of War community, but I want to settle this right now. They say they needed a weapon capable of taking down a god, and that axe was the answer. But they're not just talking about any god. They needed to make a weapon that was capable of taking down the god that was wielding the weapon that they created for pure destruction. You don't just make any old legendary weapon to take down a god wielding another legendary weapon. You make a weapon that is equal or greater than that weapon to give the person wielding it the actual chance to take that person down. So let's settle that once and for all. The axe was in fact made by Brock and Sindri to be equal in power to Mjolnir. There, I said it. Now, if you want to argue with me about that, you are welcome to do so down in the comments. But we're going to move on for the rest of this video with that in mind and assuming that it's true. With that, we can take not only the feats that the axe gives us in the games, but we can also look at the feats that Mjolnir has and assume that it's capable of at least something similar. The first feat I want to go over is one we don't actually get to see firsthand in the game, but that we learn about through dialogue, and that is the clash between Faye and Thor. Now, let's establish a baseline here. Faye is certainly no slouch, but she's not a god either. She's just a giant. And let's not forget that Thor swept through the entire race of giants with Mjolnir with very little difficulty. So, we now have reinforcement that the axe can do its job and take whoever is wielding it and at least give them the power to be capable of going toe-to-toe with Thor using Mjolnir. That is an impressive feat on its own, because we also have confirmation that that battle ended in a stalemate, and we have a ghost telling us that the axe matched the hammer. Next, we have the clash between Kratos and Thor, or more realistically, the clash between the axe and the hammer. While they're talking to each other, we see the hammer and the axe in a literal stalemate, frozen in the air, because one cannot overpower the other, further reinforcing the fact that this axe is not only capable of going up against the hammer, but stopping it dead in its tracks, and it's probably the only thing that can do so. Now that we've established pretty handily that the axe is in fact on par with the hammer, unfortunately, it doesn't give us a whole lot of world-breaking feats in-game that we can use to decide how powerful it is. However, we're going to move on and look at Mjolnir's feats, and Mjolnir's got plenty of world-breaking feats that we can use to see just how powerful this axe is. The most important feat that we have here is the battle against Jormungandr, the World Serpent. Thor hits that snake on the head so dang hard that he not only splinters the world tree Yggdrasil, which is a cosmic construct that holds up all of Norse reality, but he also breaks space-time and sends the snake back to before he was even born. So we have breaking cosmic constructs, or the pillar of the universe, and shredding through time without taking any damage to the hammer itself, at least as far as we know. Now I know what you're thinking, but Matt, Mjolnir can summon wildly powerful lightning storms that can destroy entire worlds. But let's not forget, the Leviathan axe has its elemental powers itself. It's imbued with the power of frost, and its feats there are wildly impressive as well. We have to take a moment and remember that as far as these feats go, we only have access to what game mechanics can actually allow. So we're going to extrapolate from that and compare it to Mjolnir, and we're going to see exactly how powerful the elemental side of this axe is next. First, let's talk about the fact that it can instantly freeze enemies on contact, bringing them to absolute zero and completely stopping molecular movement. That's not something that just any old cold axe can do. That is a wildly powerful feat in and of itself. But then we can move on, and we've got these feats as well. Then we also have this feat here where he summons a powerful ice storm, and he shoots a literal ice beam at enemies like Shimu from Godzilla. Remember, these are all restrained by game mechanics, but we can scale these up to the same level of Mjolnir pretty easily by what we're about to talk about next. This one's the big one because it should be technically impossible, but somehow the axe manages to break reality once again and pull it off. And that's when it freezes Thor's lightning bolts in place. Now, keep in mind, lightning is over 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, and this axe froze it in place instantly after clashing. You want to keep arguing that the axe isn't as strong as Mjolnir? Come on. From here, there is one final thing that I want to take into consideration before we actually place the axe on an actual scale of power. That is the fact that throughout our journey, Brock and Sindri upgrade the axe for us on a variety of occasions. If the axe was made to be the counter and equal to Mjolnir when it was first crafted, we upgraded throughout the games. It's safe to assume they're not doing so for Thor, considering they already regret making the hammer for him in the first place. We can not only say that it's equal to, but by the end of the game, we can say it's stronger than Mjolnir as well. Now, I want to have an honorable mention here, and that's when Brock says, "Handle her special or she'll wreck beyond fixin'." It's the best Brock I got. Work with me here. But the reason that's important is he's not talking about a house or a bridge. Someone like Brock would certainly be able to fix those. He's talking about the world, breaking the world. You can't fix that. That's literally the whole point of Ragnarok. If Ragnarok, destroying Asgard, could be fixed, they wouldn't really be worried about it in the first place, now would they? Now with all that in mind, it's time to place the axe on a scale of power. We're going to use 5 tiers to determine that, and I'll also be using these tiers to determine any other weapons that I decide to do videos on later on. If there's a weapon you'd like me to cover, please let me know down in the comments, and I'd be happy to take a look at those. But the tiers are standard, your regular everyday weapons, enhanced, simple magic imbues, or lightly powerful elemental powers. Then we have mythic, your colossal titan-slaying weapons. Then we're going to have planetary, and lastly, we'll have universal. Drumroll, please. The Leviathan Axe is, in fact, a universal tier weapon, and there's plenty of stuff we've talked about here today to prove it. Freezing lightning, which should realistically be impossible, breaking the rules of reality. We have Mjolnir sending a snake back in time and shattering cosmic constructs that hold up the entirety of existence, and we have examples of those two weapons clashing toe-to-toe on equal ground, and the axe receiving upgrades throughout the games. Point blank, guys, the Leviathan Axe is not only a universal tier weapon, but by the end of Ragnarok, it is stronger than Mjolnir, and I think he's going to bring it with him into the next game. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.